just hard to know what to do at a time like this.
Now at 9, a Utah community is in mourning.
They wanted to show their respect for Lily and her family.
How neighbors and loved ones are grappling with the tragedy tonight.
Right now, tracking a strong cold front moving through Utah. Out ahead of it, fire concerns. Behind it, very cold temperatures. I'll let you know where we have hard freeze warnings coming up.
New tonight, an employee at a Utah junior high school is on administrative leave.
The youth is the future, and they're having to deal with racism.
What was allegedly said to a group of students that is so concerning. As the drought tightens its grip on the state, Governor Cox weighs in on a radical idea. His thoughts on piping ocean water to the Great Salt Lake.
Training for the threat of wildfire will show you how the Utah National Guard is preparing for the months ahead.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
New tonight, the community of Springville is coming together after learning 17-year-old Lily Conroy was the teen found shot in the head last night by her ex-boyfriend. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kelly Chapman. Lily's 19-year-old ex-boyfriend, Masao Kanga, was found beside her, also with a gunshot wound. They were found in a car in Hobble Creek Park. Police now investigating the deaths as a possible murder-suicide. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree has been following the story since last night. She joins us live now from a vigil being held for both of the families involved in this case. Jenna.
Kelly, this tragedy has absolutely rocked the Springville community. As you can see behind me, a candlelight vigil is happening for both Lily and Masao, and they actually were virtually neighbors. This street, just a few houses apart from each other, her house and his house, which is right in front of me. So the community felt it was only right to honor their memories right here.
No, that's all we can do right now is just love them.
Bishop Ryan Fish says these two lives are gone too soon.
Wonderful families. They've been a part of this community for many, many years and very well respected, loved by everyone, as well as their children. They're just amazing people.
Thursday morning, the Nebo School District sent out a note to Springville High School parents, and students were given the news of their classmate Lily passing away in homeroom.
What was really nice to see this morning was when all the students came and they were dressed up. They wanted to show their respect for Lily and her family.
The high school offering grief counseling for students all week.
Everyone grieves differently, and this is tragic on many levels. And we wanted to make sure that our students had the resources that they needed when they came to school today. And so we wanted to make sure that they knew that that was available.
Police discovered Lily and Masao in Hobble Creek Wednesday afternoon, both slumped over in a car with gunshot wounds to their heads. Kanga was pronounced dead on the scene, and Conroy was light flighted to the hospital. All day, community members have been tying blue ribbons on trees for the two. Fish says some neighbors even stopped by the family's homes to mow their lawns and offer whatever help they could.
You know, it's interesting, even though we have ward boundaries or different boundaries down here, it's one big family. It just seems like our kids are so close and tight knit. It's really rocked our community.
And Bishop Fish told me he wasn't sure if the family members would actually make it to this vigil because they have been in the hospital with Lily all last night and all today, keeping her on life support so that her organs could be donated to a local family who was in need. Reporting live in Springville, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
So sad, Jenna. Thank you. Right now, a Utah County man is in custody after making a bomb threat at an elementary school in Provo this afternoon. According to Provo police, 46-year-old Robert Prina said that there was going to be a shooting at Timpanogos Elementary School. Investigators found Prina at the Boulders apartment complex. He barricaded himself inside but surrendered after a few hours. No bombs were found at the school or inside his apartment. A 20-year-old roofer was sent to the hospital after he fell 25 feet off of a rooftop in Sandy. It happened at a home along Bentwood Lane around 6 o'clock this evening. Sandy Fire said when they got there, the man was not conscious or breathing. He was flown to the University of Utah Hospital in extremely critical condition. Investigators say this does appear to be a tragic accident. We will keep you posted as we learn more. For the second time this week, a junior high school educator in the Granite School District is placed on administrative leave for alleged racist behavior around students. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser spoke to a local organization who says we've got to do better. Emily.
Kelly Ray Duckworth with the Black Lives Matter Utah chapter. She says she's been on the phone with the Department of Justice all day discussing these cases. She says an internal investigation done by the district is just not enough.
One district, 2 days, and 2 separate cases of educators placed on leave over allegations of racist behavior.
I strongly feel and I strongly believe the Department of Justice is just never going to leave this state. We might as well build them a building.
Ray Duckworth is the operating chairperson of the Black Lives Matter Utah chapter. She says she's exhausted hearing claim after claim of racism in schools.
These brilliant children are so smart and empowering, and the youth is the future, and they're having to deal with racism.
A Benyon Junior High employee was placed on leave Thursday for using, quote, a racial slur in the midst of conversing with a group of students. This comes just a couple days after an assistant principal at Bonneville Junior High was also placed on leave. An 8th grader there told Fox 13 she was dress coded when other students were not.
I noticed that all of those girls that had been wearing the outfits were all white, all different color than me, obviously, so I wasn't going to hide it. So I asked him, I said, are you doing this because I'm brown? Like, are you dress coding me because I'm brown? And he just looked at me straight in the eyes and told me, yes, I am.
Granite Schools says both cases will go under a, quote, rigorous investigation.
It breaks my heart a little bit to hear that they're dealing with racism, but it's not even from their peers. It's not someone who's their age. It's someone who's supposed to be setting an example and providing security and education to the child.
Duckworth is proud of the students who were not afraid to speak up.
Power to you, you know, like you guys are the youth and you're doing better than adults. Like, I'm proud of you. And if I can do anything to, you know, aid that amplification, I would do anything I can.
The Granite School District declined an interview today, saying this is because this is an active investigation. They did release a statement saying, quote, the district does not condone or tolerate the use of any type of derogatory terms or racial slurs in any form or context. Reporting live outside Benyon Junior High, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Thanks, Emily. New at 9, an Idaho judge will be sending out a written answer soon on whether or not Lori Vallow Daybell's trial will be moved to coincide with her husband's, Chad Daybell. Today, state prosecutors asked Judge Stephen Boyce to move Lori's murder trial to January instead of the current date in October of this year, saying more time would be beneficial.
The court can find good cause to continue Lori Vallow Daybell's trial. As the defense team recognizes in their response, there is a voluminous amount, or I think a mountain of evidence to review in this case. Mitigation experts require significant time to review evidence and prepare argument, and a period of time beyond the 6-month statutory limit lessens the burden on defense counsel.
Lori has not waived her right to a speedy trial, so unless the judge decides otherwise, legally she must be tried within 6 months of arraignment, which happened late last month. Switching gears to weather now, it was a windy day across northern Utah. Utah's Weather Authority Allison Krogan is tracking a lot of things right now. Along with the wind is coming some cooler temperatures, Allison.
Yes, and the wind is still going really strong here across northern Utah, even though our front has now made it into central to southern Utah. So go ahead and zoom in for you. That low pressure system is located near Moab, and that cold front stretches to the north end of Washington County. Now we're looking at some very strong sustained winds. So right now here across Salt Lake City, our wind is sustained at 35 miles per hour, and that that is enough to create some larger areas of blowing dust. So it is quite hazy out there, quite dusty out there is the better word. 32 miles per hour for Provo, 23 miles per hour for Ogden. It is very gusty here across a lot of the state. And for Salt Lake right now, it's 52 degrees with our wind gusting 45 miles per hour. So let me show you the wind gust forecast through the next few hours. Through midnight tonight, we'll stay breezy here along the Wasatch Front, about 20 to 25 miles per hour. St. George still 35 miles per hour at that time. Tomorrow morning calmer, but we see some more breezy conditions tomorrow afternoon. I'll let you know what you can expect with some more chances for some rain and snow coming up in the full forecast.
Thanks, Allison. Utah Senator Mike Lee is refusing to participate in a primary election debate put on by the nonpartisan Utah Debate Commission. Instead, he wants to appear in a debate being organized by the Utah Republican Party. Senator Lee says in a statement to Fox 13 News, quote, primaries are partisan and the Republican Party should be involved in primary debates. Because the Debate Commission was not willing to work in collaboration with the Utah GOP and maintains that they want Democrats and unaffiliated members of the commission involved in the GOP debate, we will only be participating in the debate sanctioned by the Utah Republican Party. The Utah Debate Commission is a nonpartisan group created to put on political debates that are broadcast statewide. Fox 13 News is a member of the group. Senator Lee's Republican challengers, Becky Edwards and Allie Isom, have been critical of him skipping the independent debate.
COVID is here to stay, and we need to learn how to navigate this new environment.
A new surge in COVID-19 cases in Utah once again. How health leaders and the governor are reacting tonight. Bangerter Highway is now 3 big steps closer to being a real highway. What UDOT says needs to be done.
We are just before at the cusp of the fire season.
And the Utah National Guard is getting ready. We'll give you an inside look at how they're training to fight wildfires this summer.
Today was the first round of the PGA Championship. How did Utah and Tony Finau play? And how did Tiger Woods' leg hold up? I'll show you coming up in sports.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox continues to push for free transit as a way to help families handle inflation, along with those high gas prices. The governor says he is concerned about Utah's most vulnerable, who have to choose between a tank of gas or groceries. He's repeatedly pushed for free fare on public transit, but says the legislature isn't quite on board.
Free ridership on transit would allow them an opportunity. Even if it takes them longer to get to work, at least it's an option. So they could do that. It would save them money. They could use that money for groceries and other things, and would not exacerbate inflation. It would be good for the environment too. So that's one area that we're really pushing on. There's been a tepid response to that, I would say, but they are discussing it amongst their members.
The governor says the state has also worked to bolster food pantries to help those in need right now. Firefighting crews from Utah are already fighting wildfires all across the country. As temperatures heat up here in Utah, the threat of wildfire is knocking on our doorstep. Fox 13 News anchor Brian Schnee participated in training flights with the Utah National Guard today as they prepare for fire season.
As the time goes on, fire seasons are longer and more frequent.
When fire sparks,
location's going to be right here at the parking lot of ASP. Winds right now, I've got southwest.
Crews are called to the scene. From there, communication is crucial.
This provides us with the training that we need to help fight fires across the state if there's a need.
During this specific mock wildfire training exercise with Unified Fire Authority and the Utah National Guard,
I've requested it. As soon as it gets here, we set just shy of the ASPC.
Coordination between the boots on the ground and the citizen soldiers in the sky is a must.
We are just before at the cusp of the fire season. Getting this training down helps us coordinate and get the coordination timeline down faster so that we can get crews out on a fire faster.
Just like other air resources, the Guard flies these Blackhawks over wildfires to help ground crews in wildfire suppression. We flew with one of the helicopters as they practiced water drops by using what's called a Bambi bucket.
This training is technical proficiency in what they can do, and to navigate high winds while fighting a fire, and then the elevation gain in and out mountain ravines.
The bucket is filled with water and is dropped in an area called for by fire command staff. In 2020, the Utah National Guard assisted on nearly 20 wildfires in Utah and in California. Last year, they were called to help on the Parley's Canyon fire. While they consider themselves the last-ditch effort for firefighting, when all the other resources are tied up on other incidents.
As far as structure protection, I have not seen a rep from ASP.
They continue to train with other local agencies, so they're ready to serve when called upon. At Camp Williams, Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
You maybe hear the wind howling at your house right now, or you've looked out and you notice that you're having a hard time seeing the mountains, not just because it's getting dark outside, but because it is dusty out there. We have areas of blowing dust with our sustained winds right now, more than 35 miles per hour for the Wasatch Front, with even stronger wind gusts for some areas close to 50 to 55 miles per hour over the last few hours. So right now in Salt Lake, our wind is gusting 45 miles per hour. It's actually stronger than it is in St. George right now at 31 miles per hour. Our cold front is situated across far southern Utah at this point. Still wind out of the south ahead of it, a very cold northerly wind behind it. And so our temperatures just dropped today. And we're also seeing a few showers. We're seeing a few areas of snow right now up towards Evanston, up into the UNS. But overall, wind is going to be the main concern with this system. So our temperature change here in Salt Lake, Ogden, and Provo, we're about 20 to 25 degrees cooler here across the state, and our temperatures are going to be chilly for the next few evenings. And then by Saturday and Sunday afternoons, we'll have some comfortable temperatures again, but tomorrow's going to be quite chilly here across the state. St. George, it's still about 90 degrees. That's why we have those fire concerns across the south. Salt Lake City right now, 52 with that wind sustained 35 miles per hour. Once you get more than 25 miles per hour, but certainly sustained more than 35 miles per hour, that's when we start losing a little bit of visibility with some of the dust that picks up if we're dry. We also have wind advisories that have newly been issued for the West Desert, also for Utah Valley. That's been expanded to include a few more hours. Same thing down towards Castle Country. So overnight temperatures are going to be around 40 to 45 degrees for Provo, Salt Lake, Tooele, and Ogden. Then tomorrow here in Salt Lake, we're going to still have cooler temperatures. We'll have a chance for a few showers during the second half of the day tomorrow, but temps in the 40s through late morning, and then highs will only make it into the 50s tomorrow. And then by tomorrow afternoon, we're starting to see an uptick in chances for some showers. We're looking at widely scattered showers across northern Utah during the second half of the day tomorrow. So at 4 p.m., about 50 to 55 for Ogden, Salt Lake, Eagle Mountain, Tooele, and Provo. We're going to have those cooler temperatures. So through 11 o'clock tonight, still a chance for some light rain through central Utah and the mountains, but then we're drying out overnight. Wind will eventually calm down after about 4 a.m. And then come tomorrow afternoon, we'll see some breezy conditions again, not as strong as today, with some more chances for widely scattered showers on a Friday night. And then our temperatures are going to be warming up this weekend as we're drying back out. So chance for some widely scattered showers tomorrow and again Monday night into Tuesday, isolated chances. For St. George, upper 70s tomorrow, so a lot cooler than today. 80 on Saturday, close to 90 on Sunday, hot next week. Salt Lake, mid-50s Friday, lows Friday night in the 30s, warming up this weekend, heating up next week. We'll talk more about tomorrow's chances for rain and tonight's wind later in the hour.
Wow, huge jump at the end of next week. 90 up there on the board? We'll talk more about that, Allison. Thanks. Straight ahead, the need for baby formula has parents throughout the country right now in panic mode. Why you do need to be extra careful right now before buying any formula. In national news, Vice President Kamala Harris says the Supreme Court possibly overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling is part of a war on women's rights. The vice president met virtually with abortion providers today. According to a published draft memo, the court may strike down the 1973 Supreme Court ruling that established a constitutional right to abortion.
It would be a direct assault on the fundamental right to self-determination, to live and love without interference from the government. At its core, this is about our future as a nation, about whether we live in a country where the government can interfere in personal decisions.
Well, the final opinion in the case is not expected to be published until sometime in late June, and votes as well as language can change before it's formally released. Today, Buffalo's shooting suspect Payton Gentron has been indicted by a grand jury. The 18-year-old white man is accused of carrying out a racially motivated mass shooting at a Tops grocery store last Saturday, killing 10 people. Another 3 were injured. Of the 13 victims shot, 11 of them were black. In online post and in a 180-page document, investigators believe the suspect wrote that he described himself as a white supremacist, fascist, and anti-Semitic. He's due back in court on June 9th. The Federal Trade Commission is warning people about baby formula scams. Look out. Today, the commission said scammers are popping up online. They're tricking desperate parents and caregivers into paying steep prices for formula that, guess what, never even arrives. The FTC says there are a few things that you can do to protect yourself. Check out the company online for reviews or complaints. Also, beware of companies that only take gift cards or money transfers. Big red flag there. If you do suspect a scam, you can file a case at reportfraud.ftc.gov. COVID cases are rising again. And tonight, how those on the front lines are facing the daunting reality of another surge coming their way.
One of the best-known defendants of the January 6 riots today told a judge what happened that day. We also talked to his brother.
The governor addresses Utah's ongoing drought emergency and that idea of a pipeline to the Great Salt Lake.
2 numbers moving in the wrong direction. Seatbelt use down, traffic deaths up. Coming up, what troopers say they'll do if they spot you without a seatbelt.
Coming up, we'll hear from the new head basketball coach at Weber State, plus Game 2 between the Heat and Celtics.
Thanks for being with us tonight. For the 6th straight week now, Utah is seeing an uptick in COVID-19 cases. The state health department reports that on average, 645 Utahns tested positive for COVID per day over the past week. That's about a 33% jump from the week prior and the highest 7-day average we've seen in nearly 3 months. Around 80 Utahns were hospitalized for COVID on average this past week as well. A spokesperson for the health department said in a statement, quote, "Given trends in other areas of the country, we expect to see sustained increases over the coming weeks." Medical leaders at Intermountain Healthcare addressed this surge today, saying what we are seeing right now resembles what took place during the Omicron variant surges, with fewer hospitalizations with respect to total overall cases.
Do we need to have a plan? Do we need to have a strategy? Absolutely. Because although hospitalizations and deaths have been decoupled to some degree from the overall case transmission, they still impact lives and livelihoods.
Dr. Brandon Webb there also said that we have a significant amount of immunity in the population right now, and that the cases we are seeing are more mild than in the past. Utah Governor Spencer Cox is back from quarantine after he battled COVID-19. He did address the situation with the rise in cases in his monthly news conference today. The governor says the good news is hospitalizations remain relatively low right now. He also says they see no need for any change in restrictions, but he says people should wear a mask if they want to.
If you're worried about the transmission, it's a good idea to wear a tight-fitting N95 mask for sure. That option is always available to people. And if you're not vaccinated or you're not boosted or you're high risk and you're worried about it, I would.
The governor also encouraged people to get their booster shots and also to get tested. With these rising COVID cases, concerns among healthcare workers are also rising. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph is at Intermountain Medical Center, where people there right on the front lines are worried there may be another large case spike.
A third COVID surge is something no one in the medical field wants to hear today, with our numbers trending in the wrong direction. Tonight I spoke with a registered nurse here at Intermountain Medical Center in Murray, and she shared how her and her co-workers feel after hearing the news.
Having it go back up is psychologically a nightmare.
The last 2 years of healthcare have been a struggle, with medical professionals facing obstacles no training could have ever prepared them for.
It's a psychological nightmare to live through. So it's hard to watch families choose to maybe let down their guard and their precautions a little bit.
This is Tammy Cokerhans, an RN at Intermountain Medical Center.
You can never unfeel doing compressions on somebody and trying to save their life while their family is on Zoom.
And upon hearing today's news that cases again are on the rise.
It's disheartening, honestly, to see the numbers going back up.
We have a major staff shortage in all of our hospitals.
Dr. Andrew Pavia is a doctor for both Intermountain as well as the University of Utah.
And right now, we're experiencing a lot of staff absenteeism due to people calling in with COVID. And that is really putting pressure on our ability to deliver care.
It's that lack of staff that, even in a minor surge, could cause serious problems.
During the peak of the pandemic, I was working 5 to 6 12-hour shifts a week. And I can no longer do that and be a good mother and be a good wife and take care of my family. Sorry. Just the thought of going back into that is extremely difficult because I love being a nurse. I love taking care of people. I love watching people progress, but I can no longer sacrifice my life for that.
For Tammy, she's dealing with it how she can.
A lot of outside time. Actually, that sunlight is glorious. We live in a fabulous state.
So those on the front lines are asking.
Together, we're powerful. We can do phenomenal things because I've seen us do it as a community and as a state. It works. It saves lives.
Doctors recognize that pretty much everybody has COVID fatigue right now, but going back to those basics and doing those things will keep all of us safe. In Murray, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
One of them started hitting me in the legs with a baton, so I took his baton from him.
He was assaulted, and he reacted exactly the same way that I would expect anybody to react.
The Utahn, who became one of the faces of the Capitol riots, pleaded guilty today. Fox 13 investigative reporter Nate Carlisle listened to the hearing and spoke to the defendant's brother.
Flags inside the Capitol, y'all, right there, the back windows.
Landon Copeland didn't know it when he filmed this video on January 6, 2021, but his younger brother, Landon Copeland, was among those battling police. Landon Copeland became a symbol of what happened that day when news photographers captured images of him wrestling with police over a crowd control fence. He told us this a few months after the riot.
I do believe that the jury, whenever they stand there, they will see me as nothing more than a soldier trying to defend his people from the people that were attacking them.
But Landon Copeland won't sit in front of a jury. Copeland on Thursday pleaded guilty to a felony count of assaulting, resisting, or impeding officers with a dangerous weapon. He faces up to 8 years in prison, though the judge Thursday said guidelines would likely recommend a sentence of 41 to 51 months. Landon Copeland has been in the jail in Hurricane, Utah for a year, and that time will be credited toward his sentence.
Whole intent was not to go and storm the Capitol.
Landon Copeland spoke to Fox 13 News by phone on Thursday. He said he took videos of the rallies and riot and did not engage with police like his brother. Did he commit a crime on that day?
Absolutely not. This is the worst miscarriage of justice in the history of the United States. He was assaulted, and he reacted exactly the same way that I would expect anybody to react.
When it was time Thursday to tell the judge what he did, Landon Copeland's description was much like what he told us last year.
One of them started hitting me in the legs with a baton, so I took his baton from him, and then one of them started pushing me back with a riot shield, so I took his riot shield from him. Sentencing is scheduled for September 9th. Copeland, now 34 years old, still faces unrelated charges in state court in St. George. He's charged there with felony counts of weapons and drug possession and a misdemeanor count of violating a protective order. In the newsroom, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
New stats show seatbelt use in Utah declined recently. The message from Utah Highway Patrol as we all head into the deadliest days on the roads.
And we still have high wind advisories for portions of Utah. High wind warnings for the Uinta Basin. Wind is gusting here in Salt Lake at 45 miles per hour. The latest updates on what you can expect through the rest of tonight coming up.
We've all heard it before, but with a recent rise in fatalities on Utah roads, it is a message that is definitely worth repeating time and time again. The Click It or Ticket campaign is coming back. Fox 13 News anchor Max Roth shares the urgent plea from Utah Highway Patrol, all in an effort to save lives.
It's a number that's not supposed to go down. 2% fewer Utahns wore seatbelts last year compared to 2019. And 80 more people died in 2021 compared to 2019. So troopers say it is time for Click It or Ticket. March 12th, Saturday morning, two men in a van suddenly hit head-on by a sanitation truck that had moved into oncoming traffic. They were driving safely, except they didn't have seatbelts on, and both men died. UHP Major Bo Mason says that's too familiar.
We actually saw this a week ago. That person was doing everything right, driving safely, doing everything right, except for wearing their seatbelt, and they were the fatality in that accident.
Click It or Ticket has become a familiar catchphrase. UHP and 52 other law enforcement agencies say people need to listen.
And what it boils down to is the choices that people are making. When we see factors like wearing your seatbelt and decreasing our speed, we see a decrease in fatalities.
About 88% of the people in the state of Utah wear a seatbelt. That means that 22% don't. The startling number is that those 22% account for over 50% of the fatalities in Utah roadways.
There are two parts to the Click It or Ticket campaign. The first is watching this story right now. Education, reminding everyone to be smart. Because the second is going after those who make the wrong choice before they get hurt.
Every county in the state will have troopers out doing that, and they will focus on nothing but seatbelt usage, and they'll be out there writing a lot of citations, probably not giving a lot of warnings.
Sergeant Eric Prescott leads the incident reconstruction team, and he's upset his crew has seen so much death this year.
They're preventable crashes, and yet we're having to go and tell people's loved ones that they died simply because they chose not to wear a seatbelt or that they were distracted.
The Click It or Ticket Blitz runs from May 23rd to June 5th. Zero Fatalities Utah has a new dashboard on their website that keeps a twice daily count of Utah's traffic injuries and deaths. Just go to zerofatalities.com/statistics. In studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Please buckle up. Still ahead here, Governor Cox's request to Utahns to save water. Plus, his take on a proposed pipeline to bring water from the Pacific Ocean to the Great Salt Lake.
Coming up in sports, we'll hear from Weber State's new head basketball coach. How does he plan to blend tradition with his own flair? And Tony Finau's in good spot after the first round of the PGA Championship. How about Tiger Woods? Did his leg hold out? The highlights are on the way.
Bangalore Highway, now a big step closer toward becoming a real highway, you could say. UDOT is actually 3 big step closer, with stoplights being replaced by freeway-style interchanges in West Jordan, South Jordan, and Riverton. This has all been in the works for more than a decade, and the timing couldn't be much better because growth along the southwest corridor of the Salt Lake Valley continues at a rapid pace.
Bangalore will become a freeway just like I-15 and I-215. It's what people have been asking for decades, and we're going to make it happen.
Yes, they are. Listen to this. When all of those projects are complete and all the stoplights are removed, UDOT engineers say it will reduce the time it takes to get from I-15 in Draper to the Salt Lake International Airport by 20 minutes. As Utah's drought emergency intensifies, Governor Spencer Cox now urging people to conserve more water. Meanwhile, he's weighing in on the idea of a pipeline to the Great Salt Lake. Here's Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow.
We've known, and they've known for a long time, that those reservoirs are at the tipping point.
Governor Spencer Cox says the reservoirs in central and southern Utah at risk of going dry will primarily impact agriculture operations. But all Utahns will be impacted by the state's drought emergency.
Right now, it really is, the short-term answers are all about conservation.
He urged Utahns to cut water use to stretch resources as far as possible.
As we move into the watering season, that people are already cutting back on their lawns. Farmers are cutting back significantly on irrigation when it comes to their crops, and that's going to help us get through this what could potentially be a very dry summer.
The Great Salt Lake is also projected to hit a new historic low this year, presenting a significant environmental crisis for the state. Appearing at a summit on the Great Salt Lake, House Speaker Brad Wilson says they're working quickly on solutions to get more water into it.
To be honest, Ben, we've still got a lot of work to do.
The speaker says the state needs to re-examine water policies with the Great Salt Lake in mind, and that may not make some people happy.
We just have to make sure that the interests of the Great Salt Lake have equal footing with all the other water interests in the state. We can't leave it to just luck that the Great Salt Lake is healthy. We've got to have a strategy, a plan, and everyone's got to be working together towards that.
Fox 13 News first reported earlier this week a legislative committee authorized a study of a pipeline to take water from the Pacific Ocean and put it into the Great Salt Lake. The idea has stunned environmentalists, even as lawmakers insist all options are on the table and it ought to at least be considered. Today, the governor seemed to pour a little water on it.
But certainly that's a pipe dream of sorts, literally and figuratively. Sorry, the dad jokes are just coming today. That would, if something like that were to ever happen, we're talking many, many years into the future. So our focus is on what we can do now, and that is a real focus on conservation.
Now, some local water districts are already imposing restrictions on outdoor watering, with one going so far as to ask residents to cut indoor use a bit. At the University of Utah, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, it's a windy night here across the state. Let me show you this wind forecast because it is really strong out there right now, and it will stay strong for a few more hours. Take a look at the timestamp on the top right of your screen, 11 o'clock tonight. We'll still see wind gusts here across the Salt Lake Valley around 45 miles per hour. Same thing for St. George. Across the board, almost all of us dealing with wind gusts around 30 to 40 miles per hour this evening. We'll take you through midnight now. Things are still going to be really strong here across the state. Once we get closer to about 4 a.m., we'll see less wind along the Wasatch Front by 7 a.m., and we'll see a lighter breeze across central and southern Utah early tomorrow morning. With that being said, I want to give you an update on our latest wind alerts. So for Utah Valley, you have a wind advisory through 11 o'clock tonight. For the Great Salt Lake Desert, also through 11 o'clock tonight. Down into Castle Country, that's going to be until 4 o'clock this morning for a wind advisory. And then over towards Moab through 10 p.m. and for the Uinta Basin, you have a wind advisory and high wind warning that takes you through 10 o'clock tonight. So a lot to talk about with wind, but also a lot to talk about with cold temperatures behind today's cold front. So tonight, we're going to have hard freeze warnings for some of our higher mountains, either tonight or tomorrow night, depending on where you are. But this does include areas like Park City, up through Morgan, the Ogden Valley, and then up towards Garden City and towards Ephraim. Overnight temperatures will be chilly. We are going to see a chance for a few scattered showers, but nothing widespread for precipitation. Come tomorrow afternoon, we'll see a few more chances again. So partly cloudy along the Wasatch Front early tomorrow morning. Temperatures around 40 degrees, mid 40s by 10 a.m. But highs tomorrow will only be in the 50s, low 50s for many of you. So overnight temps 7 a.m., low 40s for Salt Lake, Tooele, and Ogden. Eagle Mountain dropping into the 30s. Highs tomorrow in Salt Lake 54, Ogden 56, Provo 52 degrees. St. George, you are comfortable tomorrow at 77 for a high, 80 on Saturday. By Sunday, 88 degrees. You're going to have temperatures close to 100 degrees and in the low triple digits by next Thursday at 101. Here in Salt Lake, we have quite the heat up as well. Temperatures in the mid-50s for Friday, mid-60s for Saturday, 70 by Sunday. Then take a look at next Thursday. Those temperatures are going to be back into the 90s or right near 90 here in Salt Lake City. I also want to point out that temperature come Friday night, 38 degrees. If you have any sensitive vegetation, especially if you're on the benches, you're going to want to make sure that you're covering those plants or bringing them inside. Some cool nights ahead, but we'll warm up starting Sunday into next week.
Tony Finau played his first round of the PGA Championship this morning. He's not had a great season, but he did finish tied for second place a few weeks ago at the Mexico Open, building some momentum going into the second major of the season. Finau started on the back nine, bogeyed his first hole of the day, but took dead aim at the par 5 13th hole. How about this second shot on the 628-yard par 5? Hit a draw around the trees, over the water, landed it softly on the green. He got up and down from there. Here's the birdie putt that got him back to even par. Finau had a lot of good looks at birdie on the back 9, but this is the only birdie putt he made on the second hole. Tony shot a 69. He's tied for 16th, 4 shots off the lead, so he's in good shape. Tiger Woods started strong, hitting a great approach shot on his first hole, setting up a birdie. He was 2 under par after 5 holes, so looking good, but he struggled the rest of the way. Said after his round, his surgically repaired right leg was in pain. He's tied for 99th at 4 over par. He played with the first round leader. Rory McIlroy finished his round with a nice birdie putt. He shot a 65, giving him a 1-shot lead at 5 under par. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami took game 1, but it was all Boston in game 2. Jason Tatum ahead of the Packs for the throwdown. Put the Celtics up 21. He finished with 27 points. Third quarter now, Marcus Smart putting his defender down and hits the jumper. He had 24. The Celtics won it 127-102 to even the series at a game apiece. The Eric Duff era has begun at Weber State. He's now the Wildcats' head basketball coach after serving as an assistant coach under Randy Ray for the past 16 years. When Ray retired earlier this week, Weber State moved quickly and made Duff the new head coach. He's ready for his time.
I'm extremely excited and proud to be named the 10th head coach in Weber State history. Weber State has such a great tradition. We've had some tremendous coaches and players throughout the history of the program, and I'm just really proud and excited to be a part of that, and humbled and ready to get to work to continue the program and to move it forward. Certainly those foundational principles that we've built our program on at Weber State, we're going to continue. But, you know, I have to be my own person as well, to let my personality come through, be real, be authentic. That's how your players can connect with you.
Somebody does well. We'll be right back.
Hope you can stick around for Quick Cast next.